The repository consists of all system development objects such as programs, function modules, definitions of database tables, and so on. The repository contains objects delivered by SAP as well as those defined by the customer. The repository is in the database and is independent of the client. This means that a repository object can be accessed from any client and looks the same in each client in the system. The database also contains application and customizing data, which is normally client-dependent. This means that every data record is assigned to a particular client and can only be read and changed by users who have logged on to that particular client. The system subdivides the repository according to application components. An application component, for example, Materials Management or MM, consists of several packages containing relevant objects for a more detailed logical subdivision. Whenever a repository object is created, it must be assigned to a package. Some repository objects can have sub-objects that are themselves repository objects. Furthermore, repository objects can reference other repository objects.
The repository information system is suitable for random, that is, not application-specific searches of repository objects. For example, all programs by a certain developer or all function modules that were changed after a certain date. Use the application hierarchy for the application-specific search for repository objects. The hierarchy of the application components is depicted in the form of a tree structure. The system remembers all relevant packages of the selected subtrees and enters them in the selection screen of the information system. This allows you to carry out a search in the previously selected applications.
The ABAP Workbench includes all tools required for creating and editing repository objects. These tools cover the entire software development cycle. Some of the ABAP Workbench tools are as follows: the ABAP Editor for editing the source code, the ABAP Dictionary for editing database table definitions, data types, and so on, the Screen Painter for configuring screens together with functions for user dialogues, the Menu Painter for designing user interfaces, menu bar, standard toolbar, application toolbar, and function key settings, the Function Builder for maintaining function modules, the Class Builder for maintaining global classes and interfaces. You can call each of these tools explicitly and then load a repository object for processing, but it is more convenient to access them using the Object Navigator. You can have the requested repository objects listed in this central development tool. To edit one of the repository objects, you double-click it. The corresponding tool is called Automatically and includes the selected repository for displaying or editing.
The Object Navigator screen is split into the following areas. The navigation area for displaying a hierarchical object list. The tool area for displaying and editing a development object using the appropriate tool. You can display or hide the navigation area using full screen on or off. In both areas, you can choose the functions using a context menu, which you access using the right mouse button. The context menu only offers functions that have been designed for the respective object. The system displays object lists in the navigation area. For example, if you choose to display a package, all repository objects belonging to the specified package are listed. Double-clicking an object list allows you to display or edit it. You can navigate between object lists that have been previously displayed in the current Object Navigator session using blue arrows. You can add frequently used object lists to your favorites.
In the tool area, a repository object is displayed in the corresponding tool. You can navigate between objects that have been previously displayed in the current Object Navigator session using blue arrows. You can also display a sub-window with the previous navigation history. When you double-click an object in the navigation history, the object is displayed in the tool area.
Navigation in the navigation area is independent of navigation in the tool area. This allows both areas to be used in a flexible manner. If necessary, you can synchronize both areas as follows. You can display an object in the tool area by double-clicking in the navigation area or by using the corresponding context menu function of the object. You can display the object list of an object that you are currently editing in the tool area by choosing the Display Object List push button in the navigation area. To create a new object, use the context menu for an object type in the corresponding object list. Alternatively, use the Edit Object or Other Object push button to create an object.
Development projects are carried out in a development system. The development objects edited or created in a project are transported to subsequent systems such as test or production system on project completion. At the start of a development project, the project manager creates a change request in which the project manager names the employees of this project in the transport organizer or directly in the ABAP Workbench. The transport organizer then creates a task for each project employee in the change request. When a development object is edited or created, the relevant employee assigns this to the change request. The object is entered into the task of the employee. All repository objects that an employee works on during a development project are collected within the employee's task.
Organizing a development project using a change request offers the following advantages. Employees can monitor project-specific activities. Employees involved in the project can process their respective development objects. For developers who do not belong to the project team, repository objects remain locked until the project is completed, that is, when the change request is released. Employees can have objects assigned to the change request. The transport of all the development objects in the project is automatically ensured by assigning the objects to the change request at the time of project completion, that is, when the change request is released. The transport route of the packages involved in which development took place specifies to which subsequent system they are transported. Unlike packages which distinguish between repository objects in a logical and functional way, change requests are project-related and, therefore, delimit the objects over a period of time. Although a program always belongs to only one package, it can at different times belong to different projects. The attributes have the following meaning. Detailed information can be obtained by using the field Help F1. Application Component. Determine the location of the package within the application hierarchy by specifying the corresponding application component. Software Component. For customer developments, enter Home for the software component. Transport Layer. Set up a transport layer for customer development in a complex landscape scenario. The transport layer determines if the objects of this package are to be transported to a subsequent system and, if so, to which system. Package type. Choose between the three package types: standard package, which can contain repository objects and other packages; main package, which can only contain other packages; and structure package, which can only contain main packages.
You can display all change requests in which you have a task using the My Tasks push button. To select the relevant request, double-click the transport request.
To create a package, navigate to the Object Navigator. You have the following options. In the navigation area, choose the package object type and enter the name of the package in the input field below, ensuring that you comply with the customer namespace conventions. Press Enter. If the specified package does not already exist, the system will branch off to a dialog to create a package. Choose the Edit Object push button on the initial screen of the Object Navigator. In the dialog box, search for the option of specifying a package and enter the name of the package. Press F5 to create the object. Set the attributes of the package to be created. Assign the package to a change request. The system takes care of the assignment for your task. Hint: you must assign all repository objects created or changed to the change request of the respective project. The figure shows the creation of an ABAP program without a top include and the attributes of the created program. You will learn how to create programs and transactions in the ABAP Workbench. ABAP objects are object-oriented enhancements of the ABAP programming language. ABAP syntax is platform-independent. This means that ABAP syntax always has the same meaning or function irrespective of the relational database system and operating system for the application and presentation server. Applications implemented in ABAP will also be able to run in future releases because of the upward compatibility of the language.
Characteristics of ABAP syntax. ABAP programs consist of individual statements. The first word in a statement is called an ABAP keyword. Each statement ends with a period. A space must always separate two words. Statements can be indented. The ABAP runtime system does not differentiate between upper and lowercase in keywords, additions, and operands.
Additional features of ABAP syntax. Statements can extend beyond one line. Statements can exist in a single line, although it is not recommended. Lines that begin with an asterisk in the first column are recognized as comment lines by the ABAP runtime system and are ignored. A double quotation mark indicates that the rest of a line is a comment.
You can navigate to the documentation for an ABAP statement in the following ways. Use F1 to navigate directly to the documentation for the statement where the cursor is positioned. Choose the I push button with the description help on to navigate to a dialog box where you can enter the required ABAP keyword. The latest ABAP editor or new front-end editor offers a number of new options and easy-to-use additional functions compared to the classic ABAP editor or old front-end editor. It was developed for SAP NetWeaver 7.0. It can also be imported by a support package for SAP NetWeaver Application Server or AS 6.40 and SAP NetWeaver AS 6.20, SP18 or SP59. Some of the important options provided by the new ABAP editor are as follows. You can choose different display colors for different objects in the source code. You can set fonts and font sizes for each individual user. You can compress different blocks of source code, such as loops and conditional branches, to provide a better overview. You can use bookmarks to find relevant points in the source code faster. You can display line numbers and the current nesting to improve orientation. You can have complete words suggested by the ABAP editor when you type the first few characters of ABAP keywords and data objects. You can have a small pop-up list generated by the new ABAP editor with suitable suggestions for the current cursor position since NetWeaver 7.0 EHP2 when you press Ctrl plus space.
Whenever you create or change a development object and then save it, the system stores only one inactive version in the repository. You have an active version and an inactive version of the object. When you complete object development, you have to activate the inactive version or editing version of the object. This version becomes the new active version of the object. The request release and the transport of the developed objects are only possible if all objects in the request have been activated. If your program is available in both active and inactive versions, you can switch between the displays of these two versions by using the corresponding button in the ABAP editor. Whenever you activate a program, the system displays a list of all inactive objects that you have processed. This is your work list. Choose those objects that you wish to activate with your current activation transaction. The activation of an object includes the following functions: saving the object as an inactive version, checking the syntax or consistency of the inactive version, overwriting the previously active version with the inactive version only after a successful check, generating the relevant runtime object for later execution if the object is a program.
When you generate a development object, the system creates a separate runtime object, that is, load compilation, and stores it in the repository. This generated version is the version that is executed or interpreted at runtime. If your program has an inactive version as well as an active version, you can get both versions to run in the following ways. If you start your program using the context menu of the navigation area or by executing a transaction, the active version is used. This means that the load generated for the last activation is executed. If you start the inactive version loaded to the ABAP editor using the F8 key, a temporary runtime object is generated from it and executed. In this way, it is possible to continue the development of a repository object without changing the current system status. All changes to the development object become visible throughout the system only after the activation of the object.
You can only include transactions in a role menu and in a user's favorites. If you want to place a program in either a role menu or a user's favorites, you must create a transaction that represents the program and integrate the transaction into the menu. Alternatively, you can start the program by entering the transaction code in the command field. After a project employee completes the required development task, the employee carries out a quality check and releases the task within the change request. The system transfers the corresponding object entries and the change logs of the objects for third parties that were automatically set at the start of the project from the task to the request. All project employees can still edit these objects. After all the tasks in a change request have been released, the project manager carries out the final check for the objects and releases the change request. This concludes the project.
When the request is released, all the object logs that belong to the request are removed. Copies of the developed objects are exported to the system's own transport directory, where they stay until the system administrator imports them to their intended target system. Another copy of the exported development objects is stored in the system's own version database.